Hey, it's 3.1, step one. What is the revised higher level essay and how do I score well on it? It's the question we're going to be answering. First of all, this is our last summative assessment of the semester, and so we are really almost there. We're almost done. And so let's get there. Let's get to that finish line. What is the higher level essay final draft? This is the last summative assessment of semester one. It's once again worth 100 summative points, which is the same as what the rough draft or the first draft essays were worth. So it's another chance to score the same amount as one of those essays. But it's also 20% of your IB score. Here's the pie chart I've been showing you all semester. We're working on this one, right? Higher level essay. And we're going to upload this bad boy in January, send it to IB. Whoever, someone in the world is going to be reading your essay and grading it. And in the end, it will be worth 20% of your entire IB score for English. It does need to be 12 to 1,500 words when we submit it to IB. So that's an IB requirement. And that's good to know now and to be thinking about that. Probably what you'll have to do is find more examples of whatever authorial choice you traced in whichever work you're going to use. That's probably the best way to get more words in your essay if you're concerned about that. It is going to be graded on all 4 criteria, though, this time. So each criteria has 5 marks for a total of 20 marks, and we've already been looking at criterion A and criterion B. Those are the 2 that I've been grading all along. For the last summative assessment, we added part of criterion C, which was integrating quotes, but we're going to add the rest of criterion C, focus, organization, and development now with this final higher level essay. And then also criterion D, your use of language, will also be graded this time. So all 4 criteria. What are you going to write it on? Well, as I've alluded to already, you can use one of your last 2 essays, either the one you wrote about Medea or the one you just finished about the things they carried. You might also consider writing it on something from last year. Here's what you read last year. First They Killed My Father, Ernest Hemingway short stories, poetry by Victor Hernandez Cruz, the text by Mishima, Aya by, I'm not going to try to say her name, Persepolis, Breath, Eyes, Memory, the play Familiar, and The Chronicle of a Death Foretold by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So you could potentially write on any one of these as long as, here's the caveat, you did not already use it for your IA last year. Your IA was your oral presentation that you did in 11th grade. And I think a lot of people did their oral presentation on First They Killed My Father and Persepolis. So just keep that in mind, that it has to be a different work than what you did your IA on. And you certainly don't have to do it from one of these. It's just if, the works this year aren't resonating with you or you feel like you did your best work last year, then you might want to take something from last year. All right, what is going to be graded that's different for criterion C? Well, criterion C is focus, organization, and development. And the first bullet point is how well organized, focused, and developed is the presentation of ideas in this essay. A clear central assertion is needed that makes an argument answering the line of inquiry first. Stay focused on the thesis statement and proving that debatable interpretive central assertion throughout. Link the ideas together with well thought out transitions. And finally, conclude the essay with a satisfying wrap up of the central assertion. So these are sort of new. We haven't really talked about them before in the context of a literary analysis essay, and they will be graded for this one. The one that we've already looked at is how well are examples integrated into the essay, right? That's the second bullet point. So you will still be graded on integrating quotes. And then the other piece is that you do need a works cited page. So I'll talk about that in a different lesson, but you will need a works cited page where you cite the source according to the MLA format. All right, so those things will be graded. Those are 5 marks. How about criterion D? What do you need for criterion D? This is how clear, varied, and accurate is the language. How appropriate is the choice of register and style. Register refers in this context to the candidate's use of elements such as vocabulary, tone, sentence structure, and terminology appropriate to the HL essays. I haven't graded any of this, you guys. I have just totally overlooked it. And you have some work to do with criterion D, okay? So just know that this is a bit of a hike. You have a somewhat big hill to hike with criterion D, but we'll get there, okay? We have this whole unit to work on it. First of all, I think probably the most important thing is that you proofread, that you look at your grammar, sentence structure, formatting, punctuation, spelling, and capitalization. The good news is you have AI technology to help you get there. I think the best way to get rid of errors is to read aloud. And I'm not the only one. Research actually shows that that's the best way to get rid of problems, especially with sentence fluency. If you read it out loud to somebody else, it helps even more, because as you're reading it, you start to feel like kind of self-conscious, like, oh, that doesn't quite make sense. And then you fix it even more. But reading out loud is a great way to proofread and edit your works. Also, you want to be concise. This is something that I think sometimes you guys feel like you have to do the opposite, right? Because you're trying to get more words in your essay. But the truth is, you don't want more words if they're not doing work. You want every word in the essay to actually be working towards making a point instead of just being another word. And so we'll work on being concise as we work on criterion D in this unit. You want to avoid passive verbs and filtering devices. I'll talk to you more about that as we go on. You want to avoid personal pronouns like I, me, or mine. All right, so those are the keys. The 4 criteria. The new ones are C and D, right? And we'll talk more about them in further lessons. All right, so what are the Unit 3 lesson objectives? Well, there are 4 key lesson objectives for the 4 lessons. Students will be able to read example higher level essays and examiner comments to help revise their own essays. This is the first lesson, and the very first essay is actually printed in your packet, and I want you to mark that text and to read it thinking, knowing that was the highest scored essay the year that it was written, and you want to be thinking about your own essay and how you can make your own essay look more like that. One thing I think that essay does really well is to write in a concise way. There are no extra words in that essay, and we'll help you get there too, because you want to get to do the same thing in your own essay. Students will be able to add a works cited page, an opening, ending, and transitions to their higher level essay, and that is the second lesson. Students will be able to write very clear, error-free language in an appropriate register and style in order to be able to submit the HLE to IB, and that's the third lesson. And then finally, students will be able to revise the first draft of the HLE and prepare to submit the final draft. So by the time we get to the 4th lesson, you'll have gotten feedback on both of the essays you have written, and you can use those to make even more changes, really looking in depth at criterion A and B, analysis, evaluation, and interpretation, showing that excellent understanding of the literary work. All right, so welcome to Unit 3, and get reading that essay that's in the packet, looking at it as an exemplar, a very good example of what to do. Thanks.